Presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden took the stage yesterday alongside Senator Kamala Harris for the first time as running mates. They stood together, pledging to work to restore the soul of the nation. Take a listen.
I have no doubt that I picked the right person to join me as the next Vice President of the United States of America, and that's Senator Kamala Harris.
But let's be clear. This election isn't just about defeating Donald Trump or Mike Pence. It's about building this country back better. And that's exactly what Joe and I will do.
Joining us live right now to break it all down for us is political commentator Morgan Pheme. Good morning to you, sir. How you doing?
Good morning, Dan.
So let me get your take. This was our first time seeing the two of them together as running mates, hearing their joint campaign messaging. What were your overall thoughts on this? How'd they come across?
Well, they certainly are a study in opposites. Joe Biden doesn't look terribly comfortable giving these formal announcements. Kamala Harris seemed to really ease very smoothly into the role. She is there to firm up the left side of the Democratic Party for him, to speak directly to people of color and women, and really to bring a greater energy and dynamism to the ticket. And I think that she did that in the announcement yesterday.
You're saying that he looked wooden-like. We were talking during the commercial break. Do you think that's because of the way that he had to go about this, right? We're not in a big room full of people, full of supporters who are cheering with a balloon drop, that this is a much different pandemic-related speech?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like watching a sitcom without the laugh track. There's having no audience response makes it feel awkward just by its nature. But I also think that, Joe Biden he's not great as a presenter. And I think that Kamala Harris comes in and she's so battle tested from the primaries that she was really ready for the big stage and brought much energy to the ticket.
Energy indeed. So Senator Harris's speech we saw was very targeted, very deliberate, putting the blame on President Trump for the handling of the pandemic, the economic fallout. In fact, she went on to say that there's, besides the fact that 165,000 people died, there's a moral reckoning with racism and social injustice that has brought a new coalition of conscience to the streets demanding change. That seems to be her focus moving forward. What do you think?
I thought she actually dedicated the majority of her speech to talking about the mishandling of the pandemic and the economic consequences. I don't think that you need to be a polling expert to understand that those are clearly the two weakest points for Donald Trump in the re-election campaign. And the economy is always first and foremost in Americans' minds. And she really drilled home that point and said it's an open and shut case.
Well, I mean, think about that. These are the three issues, right? The pandemic, the economy, and the racial injustice that's happening, playing out on the streets each and every day. This seems to be what they will go after. What do you see as the Trump response? What do you think what they will go after?
The biggest problem with the Trump campaign is it's been so inconsistent. Even in just the past 2 days since the announcement of Senator Harris, they haven't really formed a clear, coherent attack line against her. They've accused her on one side of being this crazy liberal, wants to tear everything down, and on the other side saying, oh, she was actually this very conservative prosecutor in California who didn't walk the walk when it came to criminal justice reform. So, I think they're going to throw anything at her that sticks. But really, the Trump campaign has suffered from the fact that they don't have consistent messaging.
And there was a very poignant moment when Senator Harris talked about Joe Biden's son, Beau. The two had worked closely together during the financial crisis. In fact, take a listen for yourself.
And let me just tell you about Beau Biden. I learned quickly that Beau was the kind of guy who inspired people to be a better version of themselves. He really was the best of us. And when I would ask him, where'd you get that? Where did this come from? He'd always talk about his dad.
You think that moment right there shows that although they were at odds during the debate, which many people have talked about, they do have this positive relationship and this history?
When I heard that, I thought that's probably what sealed the deal for the selection process. We know how passionate Vice President Biden is about his family, all the terrible tragedies that he suffered, and the fact that she spoke so poignantly about her connection with Beau Biden, I'm sure really resonated with Joe Biden.
You know, if you had to pick an issue right now that voters really need to focus on that maybe hasn't been focused on, what would it be?
Well, as we spoke about last week on your program, Dan, I think that political corruption is really at the core of fixing our system because of the extraordinary power that special interest groups and corporations wield in our government. Even if you look at the last coronavirus bill that came to almost $3 trillion, over $1 trillion of that dollars went to corporations and special interest groups instead of the American people. That's something that will afflict America regardless of who is in the White House.
And I want to lastly talk about the power of the vote, right? The power of the vote come November, even though it's going to look and feel a lot differently. How important is it for these two not to take for granted, say, the black vote or the women's vote? How do you think they'll actually do with winning over young voters as well at the same time? Those are three important factors.
Kamala Harris said yesterday that it's not just about winning, it's about getting a mandate. They want to dominate the electoral map. They want to change red states to blue or purple states to blue. And we've just seen in New York with so many shocking upsets in recent congressional races just how powerful the vote is and how it can bring transformative change that nobody expected to districts across the country. And so I don't think that they're going to be ceding any territory to Donald Trump, and they want to have as many seats in the Congress to accompany their victory if they are successful in November.
Morgan, always appreciate your time. Your new documentary, by the way, if you want to plug it real quick.
The Swamp on HBO and HBO Max.
Very good. Very powerful. I see a lot of positive tweets about it. I still have yet to watch it. I'm going to watch it this weekend, sir. Thank you, Morgan.